And we are up and running. This is the first of a intergalactic discussion with my friend Barrett. He is currently on the other side of the galaxy in Germany, the German side of the galaxy, and I'm here in the Chicago side of the galaxy. So we should have some fun discussions about how life changes and presents us with a lot of new opportunities to explore new experiences and how God is always working to make our lives and our sense of who we are bigger and more complete and more, fulfilling. And that really is the direction the course leads us. We go through some bumpy spots on the way there, but ultimately we should be having a life filled with joy and happiness and adventure. And if you're failing to experience that in life, then perhaps you should pick up A Course in Miracles and give it a spin. So it's evening there, Barrett. So how is your evening unfolding?
So far so good. Just really enjoying catching up with you a bit. Now that I'm on the other side of the pond, and as you say, es ist ein Abenteuer, which is for my German friends out there. One of the early phrases I've been learning, which means it is an adventure, and it definitely is. I've been over here just a little under 2 weeks, and I'm really liking it out here. I'm starting to feel more and more at home, even though most of the time when people are talking, I have no idea what they're saying yet, but I'm working on that too, and uh, and really having a good time. So yeah, I'm really glad we're joining again today to share more about the course. Is so deep and profound for both of us. So
Absolutely. And how about family that are still here in the U.S. side of the planet? Are your family members saying we miss you already, or is everybody just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen next?
I think it's some of both. They're definitely miss me, but at the same time, yeah, I'm coming back to the U.S. for the summer, so it's not that far away, and yeah, and maybe they'll come out here and we'll get to hang out in Europe together, so that'd be fun too. I do have a pretty good German joke for you. What do you call a pissed off German?
I have no idea.
A sauerkraut.
Oh, good one. And although Krauts, the taste for kraut seems to inhabit a big portion of Europe. I know the Poles and the Ukrainians, and a lot of people love their sauerkrauts, and I got to admit I do too. But hopefully, it's not been pissed on.
That's true. That's true. Although that does make me lead me right into the next joke, which is if you're an American in the living room, what are you in the bathroom?
Again, not a clue.
European.
Oh, see, I would have avoided that one because of the way my mind works. I don't say European, I say European.
Oh, there you go. Well, yeah, I,
Well,
I I have a pretty deep Punish, heritage, so it's not Polish or but Punish. It goes deep into my roots.
yes, and it is a form of punishment. Well,
That's
that was a good pun. Uh,
that's probably where that word comes from.
it probably is, although Shakespeare said that punning was the highest form of humor. So, of course, if you're fond of Shakespeare, you know that he was always very pleased to insert a good pun here and there throughout his work.
Definitely a master wordsmith. So
Mhm.
I remember seeing something just talking about all the different phrases or words that Shakespeare invented or kind of came up with that were not used before him, but are now sort of regular phrases in English language. I was astounded how long the list was of things that he had kind of brought into the vernacular. So,
And he was very enlightened. I mean,
mm,
if you really look deeply into a lot of his plays, especially the ones that are more visible or more popular, like Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet, um, he came across as being very highly evolved soul and was sharing some very profound forms of esoteric wisdom in an
mm,
environment where people were kind of living on a brutish level of life. So
yeah,
he was
yeah.
part of this awakening, and he does have our gratitude.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, some of his lines are so spiritual, so metaphysical. When you really get into what he's saying, it's like, yeah, I'm with you. I think he definitely was one enlightened fellow. So, well, today we were going to talk about the great section in the text, the hero of the dream, which, as we know, the hero of all of our dreams is the body. And that's basically right what he starts off with. So why don't I just read some of it here? The body is the central figure in the dreaming of the world. There is no dream without it, nor does it exist without the dream in which it acts as if it were a person to be seen and be believed. It takes the central place in every dream, which tells the story of how it was made by other bodies, born into the world outside the body, lives a little while, and dies, to be united in the dust with other bodies dying like itself. So, very Shakespearean, right? I mean, Jesus is definitely, there's a lot of similarities here. And it makes sense. Really, what he's saying is the body acts as if it were a person. I love that specific line. The body acts as if it were a person. We think that our personhood is just a fact, but what we're learning here is our personhood is not true. Our personhood has never been true. And this is deeply, deeply threatening to the ego. To hear these ideas, to hear these concepts, it feels like an attack on ourself. Why? Because we are so wedded to the idea that we are a person, that we are a body, that we are an individual. And to be confronted with these ideas that are saying, no, you are not a body, you are not an individual, you are not a separate thing in any way. You are simply a part of the oneness of divine love and grace. So when he says the hero of the dream, it's important to know that the hero is in quotations. He's basically saying, what kind of hero is this? A hero who suffers and feels pain and agony, a hero who is abandoned and betrayed and abandons and betrays others. What kind of hero is that, right? But that's what we get as long as we think that the body is real. And our work with the course is starting to get more and more that this is not our truth, and we don't need to keep believing it's our truth. And that's where our freedom lies, is in accepting that idea deeper and deeper into our psyche and into our awareness.
That is very, very true. And advancing a little bit here, it's the second paragraph. It says the dreaming of the world takes many forms because the body seeks in many ways to prove it is autonomous and real. It puts things on itself that it has bought with little metal discs or paper strips the world proclaims as valuable and real. It works to get them doing senseless things. That's what I really love in this paragraph, doing senseless things, because when you really stop and look around, all of humanity is driven by goals and trying to achieve. And on the surface, you can get excited about it, and oh yeah, let's build this monument to our personal ego and make everybody else feel inferior or feel like they are failing to perform.
Mm.
And when you really take two steps back and look at it, it's like, what's the purpose? What's the outcome? You carry bricks for 30 years, you build a pile of bricks, and what have you got? You got a pile of bricks. It is so mindless, stupid, and yet people are so completely committed and invested in it.
Mm.
And to be able to step back from that and to be able to just contemplate the possibility that life in and to itself is just this magnificent unfolding of being in a state of love, in a state of acceptance, in a state of forgiveness, having all of these attributes right at the forefront of your thinking and not getting distracted in these really futile efforts, because even if on your deathbed you are still feeling that little bump of ego going, wow, I am so grateful that I was able to accomplish all these wonderful things in this lifetime, and then you make that step over into the other side and you look back and you go, what the hell was that? That was nuts. Why did I put all that effort into building that pile of bricks? So it gets, crazier and crazier. It works to get them done, doing senseless things, and tosses them away for senseless things it does not need and does not even want. And that really, again, is the story of what goes on with most of us. We put all this effort into attaining something and then throw it in a corner, and we're often running trying to attain something else.
Mm.
And the Course has ripped the veil off of all of these illusions. And once you start to really get serious with yourself, with your own interior dialogue, with your own set of values, you begin to realize this is nonsense. This is pointless. And I don't think I want to participate anymore.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So much of what you're talking about with the piles of bricks and everything made me think of Much Ado About Nothing, right? Another Shakespeare line. All of this world is much ado about nothing. And another Shakespeare line, right? That this figure struts, there's something like struts around on its time on stage. That we think that we're doing something, but he says all the world's a stage, right? All the world's a stage. This is a stage. If we actually know that we're on stage and we're not actually doing anything, sure, we can still do stuff, but we know it's just a part we're playing. We know it's just a role that we're in. It doesn't actually matter, because at the end of the play, the curtain comes down and all the props go back to the wings. There's nothing there. And that's what happens. That's what really happens when we get this, is that we stop investing our happiness in what happens in the play. If an actor was in one of Shakespeare's plays and the actor actually got upset because one of the characters got killed in the play, even though that's what's written in the script, you would think that actor's kind of losing it, right? The actor's getting too into the story. And they're kind of losing their grip on reality. Well, we've all lost our grip on reality. We've all lost our grip on the reality of heaven. And we think what's happening in the play is actually happening. But it's not. Nothing ever really happened here. This is all just one big play that we have forgotten that we've written and have decided that we are the character that we're playing out. The things that are happening in the play are happening to us. That's what we think. But really, what's happening, right? Nothing. And that's why this is really good news to get these ideas. And Jesus kind of goes on a little bit further here. He says, sometimes it dreams it is a conqueror of bodies weaker than itself, but in some phases of the dream, it is the slave of bodies that would hurt and torture it, right? These are all things that happen here in the world. The body's serial adventures from the time of birth to dying are the theme of every dream the world has ever had. Over and over and over again, we do this. And from the perspective of multiple lifetimes, whatever we don't finish in one lifetime, we just pick it up. Maybe it's a different form. You know, we were a man that time, now we're a woman. You know, we were the conqueror one time, and now we're the conquered. It's just two different sides of the same coin, different versions of the same story. It's the same script playing itself out again and again in different ways. And we don't really want a better script. That's not what this work is all about. It's not getting to the chapter where things seem happy for a while before they go bad again. It's realizing I'm not in the script. I've never been in the script. And that's where the freedom is. It's letting go of the idea that this mortal frame is what we are, because it's not. It's never been what we've been. And we're just starting to get that more and more. And again, the reason that this is so important, and we're really kind of emphasizing this pretty strongly today, is because this is what helps us to wake up. This is what helps us to break free from the grip of the ego, is to really get these ideas and to see this world is not what I thought it was. It's never been what I thought it was. And it's like a breath of fresh air when we really can accept this, when we can start living from this new place. Because all of the fears we have are, again, connected to what happens to the body. All of the upsets we have are always what's happening to the body. The body is the source of all of our suffering. But when we go deeper, we realize the body is nothing. So how can it be the source of suffering? In fact, we project all of our suffering from the mind onto the body. All the suffering we go through in this body come from the mind. Not the mind, not the individual mind, but the collective mind of the Son of God. And it's by returning there, making a better decision, that all of a sudden we can start to really be free of all of the ego and all of the pain that comes along with the ego.
That absolutely is true. And once again, referencing Shakespeare, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So we project all of our thoughts into a fantasy and allow ourselves to become the victim of the fantasy. And that's, again, kind of stupid, you know. But it seems to be the underlying theme when we attach ourselves to the ego. The more we try to defend it and uphold it and make it feel secure and warm and loved, the more things tend to go awry, because ultimately what the ego is going to do is try to destroy everything around it and then itself. And we can really see this currently. I would imagine you're being in Europe, Europa, you would be seeing people reacting to this rather dismal situation in America's current government, and getting a perspective outside of the US on America's politics right now must be very illuminating, and again, very much in alignment with a lot of Course in Miracles thoughts, because I think people all over the planet are looking at us and wondering, what is wrong with you people? Why are you know, why are you indulging in this madness and destroying yourselves?
Yeah.
So, you know, again, we can see how Spirit places us in environments to make it more and more and more clear that none of this is real. So wherever you are taken in life's journey, you have to recognize that part of that trip is a journey into awakening, and that the Holy Spirit and the presence of Jesus has orchestrated the environment that you are currently in. And then you have to ask yourself, am I learning the lessons that are being put on my plate? You know, and I think that's the brilliance of the way the universe operates. A year ago, you probably had no inclination or interest in moving to Germany, and now at this point you're there and in another level of discovery, and that's a beautiful, beautiful effect.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that when we really give our lives over to spirit, we never know what's going to happen. Like sometimes there are some big outer changes, like have happened with me, but other times there are big inner changes. I mean, there's always big inner changes. The outer is maybe, maybe not, um, but our experience of the world really does change when we do this work. We find deeper peace, we find deeper happiness, we find it reminds me of something I remember hearing David Hoffmeister say when I heard him speak at a Course in Miracles conference, and he said, everywhere I go, I'm at home, and everyone that I meet is my friend. And this is the attitude of deep safety and deep love. And I really kind of aspire to that attitude. Ever since I heard that come out of his sharing, I was like, wow, wow, I think that sounds really good. I want to feel at home no matter where I am, and I want to be around friends no matter who I'm with. And I think it's something we can all achieve, and I think it's something worth going for because at the deepest level, there's nothing to fear. There's never been anything to fear. And if we can really tap into that, we can actually start to live our lives more and more from that place. And I think who wouldn't want that, right? Yeah.
Very true. I know that for me, that imagery, those ideas happened way before I had any exposure to A Course in Miracles, because when I was in Vietnam back in 1967 and 68, I got to know the Vietnamese people, and then I bounced over to Japan for a while and was running around with a bunch of Japanese people. And then when I came back to the United States, I was, back on the West Coast and integrating with a multitude of different cultures, because Los Angeles is such a beautiful melting pot of different cultures. And so by the time I was 25 years old, I realized that I could not find a place anywhere on the planet where I didn't have a kinship with the people around me. And so that became a state of my consciousness as I was continuing to grow and struggle with, spirituality. It was never a problem of isolation or of not being connected to the earth and to the people and to the animals and to the plants. And I suppose that was to some degree because of Native American ancestry. But, and growing up in Colorado in a predominantly Mexican surrounding, and I was one of the few white kids. And, so always I have felt that I was where I was supposed to be. There was never really a sense of I've got to escape these people. I've got to get away from this place. These people are enemies, and I'm in peril. And I think that was one of the things that first attracted me when I started looking into the Course, was the fact that it validated a lot of instinctive ideas that I already was living with. And I think that's the beauty of A Course, is it expands us so immensely and gets us out of the smallness of the ego. And if you can ride that wave, if you can be that surfer sitting out there in the middle of the ocean on your surfboard and catch that wave, you'll all of a sudden discover that life is thrilling no matter where you are and no matter who you're surrounded by.
I like that attitude. It feels really good. And again, I think it's available to everyone. So if you're watching this video and you want this, this is a good goal to aim for, right? To really feel like there is no one who is apart from your connection to the heart, that there is no one who is left out of your love and compassion. And I know it's not always easy, but it's something that all of us can achieve. And I think, again, why not aim for the big goals? Why not aim all the way? I was just talking with someone else about aiming for enlightenment. Let's aim for enlightenment, where we let go of all of the ego fear. We release all of our attachment to unconscious guilt, and we wake up. I said I said to them, it's not that enlightenment is too big of a goal, because it's not. It's really that every other goal you've ever had has been too small of a goal. And I like that idea. Let's set the small goals aside. Not that we can't do things in the world and work to accomplish things here, but we know that it's all for the purpose of waking up to our oneness. And like I'm in for that.
Exactly. It's a good way to optimize whatever sense of self that you have. Your ego is always this confined and restricted sense of self. And yet, once you start to step away from that, you begin to experience a dynamic that is very, very profound, where that sense of self starts to become inclusive. It's no longer wanting to run away and hide under the rock and build a wall around itself. You're all of a sudden seeing yourself in the Vietnamese people, and seeing yourself in the Algerian people, and seeing yourself in the French and the German. And as that journey continues to unfold, you begin to realize, I am so much bigger at this point in my life than I have ever been in the past. And that is a huge and very profound reward for putting just a tiny bit of effort into stepping out of your smallness.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Let's let our vision get bigger and bigger and bigger until it has no borders or boundaries. This is perfect. It's so perfect.
Absolutely. And in 1 week, we'll have to reconvene and see what sort of progress the pilgrim is making in Germany.
Yeah, we'll keep plugging in and keep checking in. I love doing these talks with you, Chris. So maybe our friend Charlie will be able to join us occasionally too. It's always good to have the three of us together as well.
And who knows, maybe we can drag Jason into a discussion too at some point.
Yeah, there we go. Let's keep opening it up, and we have more maybe miracles at the movies. We'll have to get. I think we have the movie. We just got to figure out when we're going to do it. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Earth is shrinking right in front of us. So anything that you would like to share as far as announcements or events?
Well, I will mention that Charlie and I are still doing our Good News events. We had one just this past Saturday where I'm basically connecting in remotely. So I will be doing basically a video call with everyone so that we can all connect together. And our next one of those is going to be on April 6th, the first Saturday of the month. It's going to be 12:30 to 2 p.m. Central Time. And yeah, the details for that are available on my website, which is miraclesu.org. Has other classes and teachings about the course that I offer. And yeah, there's a few retreats that I'm leading or co-leading this summer in June. So I'll have more details about that as we go. But the one is a camping retreat, a weekend camping retreat at Indiana Dunes, and the other one has has lodging as a part of it, and that's at Golden Light Healing Center in Northeast Wisconsin. So Again, more details will be forthcoming on both of those. And yeah, I think that's it for now.
Well, we will continue our march towards spring here, and hopefully we'll catch up with you guys there in Germany, because it's still pretty brutally cold here, and you guys have a balmy winter exit. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll try to send some of that loving warmth your way and see how that goes.
that is perfect. Yes, and by next week, who knows, you may have daffodils and jonquils and irises popping up all over the place there.
Yeah, they are already beginning. Yeah, some of the early spring flowers are already blooming. It's pretty amazing over here. I'm really enjoying it.
Wonderful. Well, we will see you in 1 week.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Take care.
All right.